Hi, my name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm a Cavoodle puppy coach and breeder for Noodle Way and River City Puppies. As a coach, my philosophy is simple. A Cavoodle should always complement your lifestyle, not complicate it. And this is the foundation to everything I teach. For almost the past decade, I have been working in the breeding, training, grooming, and veterinary sectors of the small animal industry. I've also been raising Cavoodles for the past 16 years, so I have definitely learned a thing or two about the breed along the way. Now this podcast is all about Cavoodles. Raising Cavoodles, training Cavoodles, grooming Cavoodles, breeding Cavoodles, and how to shape the behavior of a Cavoodle puppy. So if you're a Cavoodle parent or you are looking at adding a Cavoodle to your family soon, then this podcast is for you. New episodes will be released each Tuesday morning, and you can follow me across all social media under the name @UdalWay for more tips and advice on Cavoodles. Thanks for tuning in. Hello. Welcome back to episode 23 of the Cavoodle Coach podcast, Rebooted. My name is Tiana Karamayas and I'm your host. I'm coming to you with a brand new little puppy that I have had all to myself for officially 24 hours now, and I am loving every minute with him. And I was talking to some of my litter families today, and we were talking about going out in public with our Cavoodles and what we should be doing to make sure that they're building their confidence. And it came to me a few different ways that you can unintentionally create separation anxiety in your Cavoodle puppy without even realizing it. And I wanted to point these out today because I think it's so important that you're aware of these 3 points, just so in those first early weeks with your puppy, your training isn't accidentally reinforcing a behavior problem such as separation anxiety. So I'm going to go through that now, getting started with point number 1. Now, this has to do with where our Cavoodles will sleep. Now, I am the biggest advocate for crate training. I cannot speak more highly about crate training, and there is an episode that I have done all about crate training, and if I look here, I can let you know which one it is. It is episode 13. So episode 13 is when I talked about whether crate training is cruel for your Cavoodle, and the reason why I think it's so important. So go and look at that episode because this is about crate training. Now, when you're crate training your puppy and when you first bring a puppy to your home, your puppy is very likely going to be a little bit nervous those first few days, and they're going to be a little bit more clingy than usual. And this is normal. It takes about 3 days for your puppy to decompress from the stress of changing homes. So they're going to be more clingy. They're going to want to see you more because they're going to try and cling on to the only thing that brings them some kind of safety net. And Cavoodles, since they are such people dogs, and because they have been raised by humans, as in the breeder has been raising them, they're going to try and cling on to the humans that they are now with. And that's going to be you and your family. And so when it comes to nighttime, those first few nights, they probably are going to kick up a bit more of a fuss in their crate, especially if they've never been crate trained before with the breeder. And so what I tend to recommend is that for those first few nights, if you have to, if your puppy isn't crate trained, if your puppy is struggling more to settle, is to put that crate in your room. But the key here is that it can only be for a few nights. If you were to keep the crate in your room for weeks and weeks on end, this causes separation anxiety. And the way to understand this is when a puppy is sleeping at night, and they wake up, it's dark, it's a new environment, everything smells different, everything sounds different, they have none of their siblings with them, so they feel a bit unsettled, a bit nervous, a bit stressed. And so if they open their eyes at night and the first thing they see is you in bed sleeping there, suddenly you become this source of reassurance to them that everything is okay, and then they'll close their eyes and go back to sleep. And while this is great because the puppy's sleeping and therefore you're getting sleep, the reason why it's not great in the long run is your puppy starts to look at you and starts to believe that you being there is a source of comfort and safety and reassurance. And if you're not there, they start to stress more. And this creates that separation anxiety long term. So this is why for those first few nights, sure, you can have your puppy in your room while they adjust, but then we want to phase them out of the room as soon as possible. We don't want them sleeping in your room long term, at least while they're still a puppy. Once they're an adult dog and they don't have separation anxiety, sure, you can put them wherever you want in your room. But until then, it's a really good idea to just make sure that we phase them out very quickly so they don't form that separation anxiety. So this leads me on to my second point, and this is what I was talking about today with one of my litter families and part of my group coaching program that I'm doing at the moment. We were talking about taking your puppy out in public, and I filmed a little video last night because I took my new puppy Joey. I went with my partner Xander and we went to Grilled, our local Grilled, to get some dinner, and we took Joey along and I put him in his crate and I had him on the bench next to me, and throughout the evening when we were eating dinner, I was dropping in some food, some of his biscuits, not my food, his biscuits into his crate to reinforce the calm behavior he was showing, which is really nice because he was lying down relaxed in a busy environment, and that's exactly what we want to positively reinforce. And then one of the little families asked, they said, well, what do we do if the puppy starts trying to climb out of the crate? What do we do then? And this was really interesting, and it reminded me of something that can be a really easy mistake to make, and that's when we start socializing our puppy when they're young and they haven't had all their vaccinations and therefore they can't be walking on the ground. It's when a family spends this first month with their puppy, taking them out in public, which is the right thing to do, but they do it by carrying their puppy everywhere or putting them in a puppy sling or putting them in their crate, and then when they sit down, they take the puppy out of the crate and they put it on their lap. And what this is teaching our puppy is, again, when they're in an uncomfortable, unfamiliar environment, they look to you and they find you as their source of comfort. So now they're in your arms and therefore they're safe, they're good, and they're learning how to process these new environments while in the safety of your arms. And what happens is, skip down a month when your puppy's had all their vaccinations and you go to put them on the ground for the first time to walk, that's when suddenly they get this big rush of anxiety or this big rush of fear. And suddenly they are no longer okay in these public environments, and suddenly they now have this separation anxiety from you. So that's my second point of how you can unintentionally create separation anxiety in your Cavoodle, and that's by carrying them everywhere when they haven't had all their vaccinations. Instead, it's really important that you get something like a pram or even just their crate, and make sure they're not actually touching you when they're in these new environments. That way they're learning to be confident within themselves, and they're learning how to process and relax in these environments without your physical touch as their, way of reassurance. Moving on to my third and final point, the third unintentional way that you create separation anxiety in your Cavoodle, and that is by waiting too long to leave your puppy alone. Now, having a new puppy, it's such an emotional roller coaster for you and the puppy, and especially if it's your first dog, hearing a puppy cry for the first time, it's heartbreaking, and it's so hard to listen to them cry, and your first thought, your first instinct as a new puppy parent is they're upset. The puppy's upset, and therefore you need to comfort them. And the first thing to note is puppies are very rarely upset. They're so easily distracted, and they're most likely just crying for attention, and we don't want to reinforce that. But secondly, a good thing to keep in mind is your puppy has just moved from a very safe, familiar environment, which is their breeder's house, into your house. And when they go through this big change, everything is new. And so whatever routine you present to them on that first day, that second day, that's going to be the new normal. And the easiest time for your puppy to accept this is on that first day. Whereas if you spend days and days with your puppy and then suddenly you change that routine and suddenly you leave the house for 4 hours, suddenly you go to work, what happens is your puppy has to go through another big major change, and they're going to have more of that separation anxiety. Whereas if you do that on the first day and you make sure they have time alone, they accept this as their new normal, and it just puts them in a situation where they just get that confidence a little bit earlier without immediately forming that attachment towards you for that reassurance and that safety net. So it's really important when we have a new puppy that we are in fact leaving them alone on the first day, so that they understand this is the new normal and being by myself is the new normal, and they don't form separation anxiety that way. Of course, there are factors that go into this, like what the breeder has been doing, how much time the puppy has spent alone while with the breeder, whether the breeder has been working through curriculum with the puppy to build the confidence. And there is also a certain structure and certain things we want to do with our puppy before leaving them alone, just so we're not putting them in a stressful environment and they can actually be alone and stay relaxed and calm. And I do have a desensitization process for this. And all of these things, this is why, if you haven't listened to any of my other podcasts, you won't probably know what I'm talking about, but I've kept a puppy from my most recent litter of Cavoodles. His name is Joey. He's beautiful. And because I kept a puppy, I'm running a very small group coaching program with 10 other families, and we're raising our puppies on the same schedule for the next 5 weeks. And I'm also doing live training with them, and I'm giving them the daily schedule each day. And we're talking every single day. So I'm hearing from them what they're struggling with, what the puppies are doing. And the aim of this whole program is I want to make a 30-day plan for new Cavoodle parents when they bring their puppies home, so they can follow it and their puppy is going to build confidence. They're going to be properly socialized, properly desensitized. They're going to have the correct amount of enrichment and sleep. And when you do all these things with a new puppy, suddenly your Cavoodle's not going to have anxiety. You'll be able to take them anywhere without them causing you any stress, without them barking or pulling on leads. You'll be able to leave them at home if you need to, and they'll be relaxed and calm. And also they'll be sleeping through the night, they'll be toilet trained, and they'll be happy and content. And so I'm really excited because this group coaching program is giving me so many ideas of what questions arise with a new puppy, and I'm able to answer them, and I'm adding them into this program. And I'm hoping that I'll have this program available in November for anyone to purchase. So this is where this idea came from for this podcast topic, the 3 unintentional ways you're creating separation anxiety in your Cavoodle puppy. And I'm so happy that this came to me because these are 3 really good, easy ways that you make a mistake and your puppy does get that anxiety, and we can avoid that so easily. And it's all those little things that add together to shape your puppy into a really well-behaved, calm and relaxed dog. And if you're not doing it, they get shaped into an anxious, highly strung, highly energetic, naughty dog, because when a dog is anxious, they do naughty things. And that there is something you'll learn if you go back and listen to my other podcast episodes. So if you are getting a puppy, in November, more towards the end of the year, send me an email, hello@oodleway.co, and I'll pop you on an email list. And when my new program is out, that 30-day plan for a new Cavoodle puppy, I can let you know and you can join it if you want. It'll be a daily plan every day that you can follow that covers training, grooming, enrichment, socializing, desensitizing, and a proper routine that leaves your puppy feeling fulfilled while reducing that anxiety. I think that's all I have to say in this episode. I'll just summarize those 3 ways you're creating separation anxiety in your Cavoodle. Number 1 is letting them sleep in your room for too long. Number 2 is carrying them or putting them in a sling when socializing them before they've had their vaccinations. And number 3 is waiting too long to leave your puppy alone when you first get them. Make sure you don't do these 3 things because you'll end up with separation anxiety most likely, and we don't want that in our puppies. So yes, that's the end of this episode. I hope you've really enjoyed it. If you have, please leave me a rating and a review. I love reading the reviews. I love seeing the ratings. It's how this podcast can reach more families and help more families. And it also helps me because I then hear from more families about what questions they have, and it gives me ideas for more podcast episodes. So please leave a rating and a review. If you haven't, just click the 3 dots at the top of your screen and you can just click rate and review, and then you can let me know your thoughts. And I hope I'll hear from some of you in my inbox soon if you're getting a puppy more towards the end of the year. My email address was hello@oodleway.co if you missed it before. Okay, I will see you in my next podcast episode. This has been your Cavoodle coach, Tiana Karamayas. I'll see you later.